On this episode, come join me on an old Soviet adventure. We're going to check out Ukraine, take a walk through the streets of Kiev. We're going to hear a story that made me fall in love with Ukraine, and I think you will too. Buckle up, we're going for a ride. And visit a little town called Chernobyl. No mom's spaghetti where we're going. Maybe some chicken Kiev or borscht. I've always been interested and curious in Ukraine. They have some notable people and ones I've admired, like Yulia Tymoshenko, that iconic air raid. She was the first lady in Ukraine to be appointed to Prime Minister. Vasily Lomachenko, best boxer in the world. The Klitschko brothers, and Mila Kunis. The major city in western Ukraine is Lviv. It actually used to be a part of Poland. Everyone I've met from Ukraine always suggests I go here. Western Ukraine is more like a European adventure, not the old Soviet adventure I'm looking for. When I'm old and I'm boring and married and I have children, I'll take them there. Now's not the time. I'll save it for then. On this trip, it's not happening. I'm skipping Western Ukraine entirely. I'm looking for an old Soviet adventure, and all the weird stuff that comes with it. Western Ukraine does look very nice though. I'd love to see Odessa. I've heard great things about it. It's kind of like a Venice beach. You see people working out right there on the water. It's cool, but only for the summer, so won't be heading there either. I'm very interested in seeing a lot of Eastern Ukraine. There's currently a war going on there right now. I'm not sure how much is available to see, but I'll give it a shot. Not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. We don't get much reported on Ukraine. It's kind of mysterious. And we do. Like, ever since I was born, it's just been weird shit. Wondering what the hell's going on over there. Like Chernobyl. I heard there's animals there mutated with like 3 eyes, 5 legs, running around the place, looking all crazy. When Putin first came to power, it was like his first day on the job. He poisoned Viktor Yushchenko's face. He was the president of Ukraine. Heard of a group called Femen. They'd take their tops off, go to the city center, and protest sex tourism. They even peed on pictures of Viktor Yanukovych's face. Remember when they had Euro 2012? All the soccer players got a bodyguard, some smoking hot model, wearing pearls, high heels, carrying an automatic weapon. I actually looked into getting one. I researched for like 3 hours. It wasn't easy. They're not just all over the place there. Media will cover stuff like that and mail order brides, but that's about it. So I'm gonna go say what's up. Sure, I'll meet some cool people, have some drinks, learn some stuff. I'm gonna start off in Kiev and see where I end up. One of the first things that I noticed while driving into Kiev is all the construction. I mean, you only see that for one of 2 reasons. Either the economy is on fire and people are investing, or corruption. Let me tell you, business ain't booming here. Right? Ukraine is constantly ranked as the most poor and corrupt country in Europe. Another thing you immediately notice is the classic Soviet architecture. It's enormous. In America, we call that the projects, government housing. You can actually see it from the sky when you're flying in. I was thinking, oh shit, we're headed to the hood. Ukraine. That pothole was 4 feet deep. There's an app I like to use. It's called Show Around. It allows you to hire a local. They give you a tour around the city. It's cool. After checking in the hotel, I scheduled a tour with Mia. That's not until later this afternoon, so I got some time to go check out what Ukraine is like. If you're walking around with a camera, videotaping everything, you're either a weirdo or you're like a weirdo food blogger. I always get so embarrassed when someone asks me if I'm a food blogger. It happens like once a day. See the underground to my left up here? I took it across the street in a lot of old Soviet Union places. I learned that the hard way in Russia. I almost died trying to cross the street. You don't cross the street, you go under it. Kiev's underground is insane. It's like a whole other world down there. It's like over 100 stores. I ended up getting lost down there for like 2 hours. I was just trying to cross the street. Kiev's metro, it's one of the nicest ones I've ever seen. It's beautiful. It reminded me a lot of Moscow's. It's very easy to use. It's 3 lines, 52 stations. Someone told me it's actually the deepest metro in the world. I believe it too, because that escalator is at least a 5-minute ride. If you take the stairs, you're a psycho. This is the Holodomor Monument. Stalin's responsible for the famine genocide that happened from 1932 to 1933. It's estimated that 4 million people starved to death. I didn't even know that before I went to Ukraine. No one mistakes Stalin for being a good guy, but that is just pure evil, making someone starve to death. I found one of these funicular things. The guy working the booth gave me a thumbs up and turned the lights on for me. Thanks, bud. I actually spent a lot of time just admiring the architecture, the colors they use. It's cool, it's a unique contrast. You have the enormous Soviet-styled architecture that gives it kind of a gothic tone, and then you also have newer buildings that are bright, vibrant colors. I mean, right here, yeah, it looks a little run down, there's an abandoned building, but right across the street, it's beautiful. The nice parts far outweigh any blight they have. I assumed that Kiev was going to be a dangerous city. It's the most poor country in Europe. The unemployment rate isn't the worst. They get paid the least. So people are working, but they're still struggling. I don't have any children, but I imagine if I couldn't provide for them, and I was looking at them hungry, I'd find a way to feed them. I would never rob somebody, and I would never sell drugs. But sometimes I understand why people do. I think you can easily tell when you're in a dangerous city just by walking down the street. All you gotta do is take a look at the locals. People are not gonna be calm and relaxed. They're gonna be stressed out. It will be an intense environment. It's not gonna look like this. I wouldn't call Kiev a dangerous city. I think a lot of cities that face the same challenges Kiev does are dangerous. I think that tells you a lot about their culture and what kind of people they are. My Uber driver was happy to talk once I put the camera down. One of my favorite things about traveling is people I meet, the conversations I have, and something I'd love to show. Right now, I don't have any credibility. I don't have anything to reference, so people don't know if I have a narrative or anything else. If I do it again, I'm sure it'll be a lot easier. But right now, no one wants to talk to some bald dude from Detroit about something personal. He's from Donetsk, Ukraine. It's basically the front line of the war going on in eastern Ukraine right now. He moved to Kiev to get away from the conflict, and he can make a lot more money over here. He told me people in Kiev make anywhere between $200 and $250 USD a month. I mean, he has an apartment across the river for about $75 US a month. He told me his wife's still there. She refuses to leave. He goes back every 3 to 4 months to go see her. Putin claims that Russia has nothing to do with this. It's separatists. It's people that are from Ukraine. That's what has been reported to us, that it's a civil war. What he told me was that Putin made a deal with everyone that's in prison for murder and is a drug addict. That, hey, you get a get out of jail free card if you go to Ukraine and you create the separatist groups. He said it was terrifying. You know, one day they all just started coming and raising hell, fucking the city up. He told me not only are the separatists Russian, but they also have Russian soldiers there fighting along with them. Yo, dog, I saw you dancing. You did good. Let's head to the city center to meet the tour guide. I almost got scammed. I made eye contact with this beautiful lady and I just froze. Then I realized she's got a monkey in her hand. I froze again. I realized she's about to throw this monkey on me. And the monkey's looking at me like, hey, I'm coming. I had to do a spin move and run the other way. She wants you to take a picture with the monkey and then ask you for a bunch of money. You can see 4 guys dressed in black coats on the right of the screen. Well, after the gorgeous lady takes a picture of you with the monkey, they come and shake you down for like €100. The only reason I know that those guys were in on it, well, I was walking back after the tour. I saw him have some Chinese guy pinned up against the wall. Some guy I met at a hostel this week told me he had to give him about €100. He gave him his phone to take a picture of him with the monkey, and he had to pay to get it back. Almost every city has a free walking tour. The reason I got a guide was because I wanted to hear about Euromaidan. You know, to us it was reported that it was a bunch of white nationalists. Mia's going to try to explain to me what exactly happened during Euromaidan. I'll fill you in, bear with me. She started going before I set up my camera. So it was like a protest against him?
Yeah, so people just were staying on the square. Do very peacefully. And
Peaceful protest.
yeah, so
Didn't he shoot him or something?
yes, he did. He was like angry because why are they staying there?
Yeah.
And after some time, he just said to the military that you should shoot people why they're staying here. Just 100 people died and that's
100 people?
yeah. And
That was 2014?
yeah. And the street is going upstairs. So from here you cannot see.
100 people?
Yeah.
This is Viktor Yanukovych. He was the president in 2014 during the protest. Ukraine was going to start joining the European Union, but instead, he signed a deal with Putin. The protest was called Euromaidan. Maidan's a Ukrainian word for square, so European square. The protest took place straight ahead.
This square named Independence Square, and everything here is about independence.
Was it always named Independence Square? Or?
It was always Independence Square, but before it was Independence Square because of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
So Ukraine is only since 1991 independent. It's a very young country. But to be honest, I'm very proud and happy that it goes in the right direction so fast. Yeah, we did some mistakes. Just recently, I mean,
Yeah.
it started like this, just where people were staying and the police were staying, so just to keep people, just to keep people on the same place, you know,
Yeah.
not to let people move. And also it shows how everything was on the Facebook, and the people actually told about what is going on in Ukraine, who were telling, and the world.
It's all in the world? Yeah.
And the world heard that, and they just, everyone noticed that something is going wrong, you know.
Euromaidan started November 21st, 2013. It was a peaceful protest, about 1,500 students, right here in the city center. They were protesting because Viktor Yanukovych was supposed to sign an agreement on Ukraine's associate membership in the European Union. Instead, he signed an agreement with Russia. In the early stages of the protest, it was mostly college students. No one in Ukraine was happy about this, but it was mostly the younger generation that were advocates of joining the European Union. A lot of people also felt that the European Union was just lesser of two evils. This is on November 30th, about 10 days into the protest. A few hundred of the protesters left the city center, went down the road to protest at the parliament. When they got there, they were met by police in full riot gear and armed with batons. The police ruthlessly beat the protesters. I mean, it looked like they were trying to kill them. It was absolute chaos. A lot of the students fled, went to this church for refuge. A lot of the protesters getting attacked was caught on camera. When this happened, there was about 10,000 protesters. After the attack, people from all over Ukraine united. And within days, there was over 800,000 people protesting. It started off as a protest to go to the European Union. Now, it's a protest for the president to resign. People were shocked and, for the most part, disgusted. More beatings and assaults continued. People said we're not putting up with this shit anymore. All the corruption and now the attacks. The protesters started to occupy some of the administrative buildings that were next to the square, kind of use it as a base, a place where they can go and sleep, eat. The protesters immediately thought that the police weren't Ukrainian. They didn't think there was any way that they would do this to their own people. They would sympathize with them. They were right, too. The police were from Russia, and that's where the orders are coming from, the Kremlin. The protests carried on throughout December. People were literally living in the city center. The entire country coming together and saying, hey, this ends now. People tried to be a leader for the protesters and negotiate for them. Like Klitschko. They wouldn't recognize him or anyone else. My favorite part about this is that they wouldn't let any political party represent them. This wasn't about politics. There was a tremendous amount of pride and unity throughout the country. Come late December, they had already been protesting for 1 month. Each passing day just raised the stakes higher and higher. The citizens held down the city center, and they weren't going to give it up. Neither side was going to voluntarily give in to the other. Tensions rose, and it was only a matter of time. The people had enough of the government shit, the corruption, and the mob-like behavior, beating of students. In the beginning, this started out as just protesting. But this is an uprising. I'm talking about a motherfucking revolution. This had nothing to do with politics or neo-Nazis. It had everything to do with decency and dignity of the people of Ukraine. This was going to end either one way or the other. The people from Ukraine were prepared for whichever way that might be. The protesters had a bunch of homemade armor, weapons, shields, made catapults, paintball guns and fireworks, Molotov cocktails, took bricks from the road. And more people joined every day. People drove in from all over Ukraine. They would abandon their car on the side of the road somewhere and walk right into the city center. The protesters made huge barricades from burning tires and cars, whatever, just to separate themselves from the police and so that they could take cover behind. The protesters stayed in the city center for the entire month of December. In January, things just started getting more intense. In January, there were snipers. Two of the original protesters that were there from day one were shot in the head. There were a few cases where the police would arrest someone. Before they'd take him in, they'd make him stand naked in front of the rest of the protesters, try to embarrass him. They even burnt down some of the buildings that the protesters were occupying, keeping their food in and supplies. They were trying to take the will away from the protesters. The most deadliest day was February 20th. Nearly 100 people were shot dead. When I first heard this, I remember thinking oh, it's gonna be over. The protesters are no match for the policemen with guns. This would bring anyone to their knees. I assumed they're gonna quit, and I didn't blame them. Those who were killed during the revolution became instant heroes. They held funerals for them right there in Maidan. There's nearly 1 million people there showing their respects. It's really powerful seeing them honor those who were killed. Now they owe it to their fallen comrades to keep going. I thought they might quit, but their will is far from broken. They are chanting glory to the heroes. Over 1 million people packed in Maidan. President Obama, Chancellor Merkel from Germany, and Klitschko negotiated a deal with the Ukrainian government. It was a transfer of power over the course of an entire year. And that's what was presented to the protesters. It's really confusing. I don't know what the hell kind of deal that was, but that would defeated the purpose of the whole revolution. They wanted this motherfucker out of office 90 days ago, not next year. One of the original protesters took the stage after Klitschko presented the deal. He said Yanukovych has until tomorrow morning. Resign and get out of here, or else. That night, Yanukovych fled in a helicopter. He was defeated by the revolution. He was no longer president after that day. And that's what put an end to Euromaidan. For 92 days, people were living in the city center, fighting the government, in freezing cold weather, witnessing people they love getting shot in the head by a sniper, getting beaten nearly to death. Look at the city. It's unrecognizable. I imagine everyone was really happy, but under these circumstances and the price that was paid, very difficult to celebrate. The guts and the passion the people of Ukraine have, that's a beautiful thing. After people were killed during Maidan, they checked their pockets. A lot of people wrote down contact information of family members and who to contact in case something happened. That's intense. Can you imagine writing that down in case you die? They did this knowing the risk. It's a selfless act. I kept thinking, what would I have done if this happened while I was there? I sure hope I would have done something to help the revolution. I fell in love with the people of Ukraine after this. This restored a little bit of faith in humanity for me. The revolution had people that wanted to join the EU and people that did not want to join the EU. They left politics out of it. I don't care what country you're from. Your system is not perfect and it's probably full of corruption. But still, I feel like the whole world keeps losing their shit and politicizing everything. You don't need a political ideology from some bullshit system to say, hey, this is wrong. If someone tells you otherwise, they're just trying to sell you something. Have passion for things like your family, for love, your friends, your community, for one another, like everyone that did it here in Ukraine. Slava Heroyu, baby. About 2 years after this, former president of Georgia was in Ukraine. He was protesting corruption. The people of Ukraine get out of their house, flood the streets, and stop him. They freed him. I watched this on my phone in the hotel. I was screaming, "Get him! Yeah!" Look how happy he is. I love the people of Ukraine. I went to a hostel so I could meet some other travelers and find a good place for drinks. I heard they were drinkers. Let's see what they got. We went to this restaurant. It had great food. Everything's like under $1. And you get a lot of food too. After dinner, I'm looking at the menu and I notice one section is in English. It says extreme cocktails. I see snake tears, liquid opium. Whoa, helmet. It's like $2. Way more than my dinner was. It's gotta be good. I ordered 2. One for me, one for Jeff, who I'm at the hostel. He's on the left, I'm on the right. They make you sit at the bar, they turn all the lights off in the restaurant, put a helmet on you, some kind of vest, thinking, alright, this is new. I had a feeling things were gonna get weird once the sound put that big wrench on the table. I have no idea what's going on. The only instructions he gave us was, when I put a drink in front of you, drink it. I ordered a shot. This is like 3 or 4. He just beat us over the head with a giant wrench. Look out! The guy's got a keg! Jeff swears that gave him a concussion, and I believe him, because he was complaining about it all night. I offered to buy the entire restaurant around. Not one person wanted one. They have a great nightlife. Went to a mass party. That's cool. My Uber driver on the way home spoke great English. I asked him where he learned it. He said he's a professional basketball player, played an Olympic team. After the bar, walking in the hotel, I hear these loud noises. Oh my God, it's happening. We're getting bombed by Russia. I ran out in a panic. If there's a war going on in your country or within 2 hours of it, you're an asshole if you're lighting off fireworks. Come on. This has happened to me in like 3 different countries. I probably laid in my bed and moaned for like at least an hour this morning. This vodka is strong as fuck. Still hammered. Here's some video from the rest of the tour with Mia yesterday. You can watch this as I explain what we're about to do. After we took that shot last night, me and a few guys were just laughing about all the funny shit you can do in Ukraine. So one of the guys at the hostel that works there said they have like a buddy that's a general or something in the army, and he said, we got a tank. Would you like a tank? I was thinking to myself, like, what the hell am I gonna do with a tank? No, I really don't want a tank, you know? But, I don't know, hey, I don't know much, but I do know if someone asks you if you want a tank, the answer is yes. Just say yes. So I said yes. So this morning, they asked me, they're like, hey, we still on for the tank? I was thinking, oh man, how am I gonna get out of this? I can't back out. And I thought, oh, you know what? I'll make them back out. I was like, good idea, right? So I start making all these ridiculous requests. I'm like, well, can I run shit over? And the guy's like, hold on, let me ask. Goes back, calls the guy, comes back. Yes, you want to bring a TV? I'm like, oh God. Next question was, all right, can I film it? Never one. And, runs back, calls, gives me a thumbs up. And then finally I was like, oh man, how much is it? I was looking online and I think they originally said like $500 or something. I was like, oh, no way. He comes back in, he's like, $100. I was thinking, oh gosh, I don't have to do this now. Finally, I was like, all right, my last time, I couldn't think of any more questions. I just said, all right, well, I got a lot of stuff to do today. Can we do it now? Guy goes, I'm driving, let's roll. So what I'm saying is, I think I got a tank. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do with it, but got one. Let's go see what this is all about. The tank is at an undisclosed location. We have to meet this guy in the military and he's gonna take us there. It's like 45 miles outside the city. I noticed we're zooming past people on the way, and so I asked what's the speed limit. And they both laughed and said, there are no speed limits in Ukraine. Their equipment is so shitty that it won't hold up in court. So all you have to do is just take it to court when you get a ticket, and they automatically throw it out. So we meet the guy from the military at some random gas station, and he says, get in, we'll take the Soviet car. He's got like his kids shit all over the place. I accidentally sat on his toys when I got in. That was hilarious. Unfortunately, I can't film him because he's the one that's in charge of the tank.
I don't even know how to open it.
I didn't even know how to open the door.
Tell me what way you can sit inside, or if you want, you can sit on the roof. But when you sit on the roof, you must hold yourself very nice.
All right.
Because it's a not normal car, it's a tank.
Yes, it is.
It's not a joke.
If you want, you can reposition yourself and
Cool.
make rounds.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, you try today.
Take just the GoPro.
And then you give. We see.
Денюшка.
I always thought it'd be bigger in here for some reason.
Forgot I had made all these ridiculous requests. Then the guy looks at me and says, you have to drive this.
What's that?
You have to drive.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I forgot I made that request about running shit over. I didn't run anything over. I didn't feel the need to destroy shit. I was just trying to get out of it.
Later can make a video. You drive over.
Okay, cool, perfect.
Just to mash something.
Yes,
You
that's
don't
something.
have much things to mash.
But don't crash trees.
Don't, yeah, oh no.
Especially because I'll be on the top.
Told me I can run over stuff, just don't run over trees. I was just sobering up from getting set on fire last night. Driving a tank is not easy. You use your entire body. You're like a transformer. I fuck this tank up, they're gonna make me buy it.
Put off clutch, hit the gas.
Yes, pushing clutch, icon. Nice.
All right, I'm the man. I got this. No hands, selfie while driving. Bet that made everyone nervous. Not easy. I didn't expect to be doing donuts in a tank when I came here. We ended up breaking the tank. I'm not joking, we had to walk back. We just left it there in the middle of the woods.
That is crazy.
On the way back, we got some Ukrainian fast food. It was like shitty Taco Bell. Very good food. I ended up checking out a few different hostels too. One I went to had a bar attached to it. Having a few drinks, go to use the restrooms on the main floor. If men are peeing in toilets, it's automatically competition. Who can pee louder? I hear the door open up and sounds like an opponent to me. Bring it on. I easily win. Washing my hands and my defeated opponent steps out. It's this very attractive female. I almost died. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Really wish I knew they had unisex toilets. This is the hostel that I stayed in. I think Kiev has the best street art in the world. In 2014, after Euromaidan, Kiev was looking pretty rough. Murals started popping up all over the city. There's over 150 of them. A lot of artists from all over the world have pitched in. You know, something beautiful that everyone gets to enjoy and look at. Makes me think about people that just spray paint and tag a building. It's like, hey, you little jerk, look what you done. Instead of doing something beautiful, you did something stupid. And now we gotta stare at this stupid word you put on a building. The murals in Kiev would give me like an unexpected, happy, inspirational feeling. It's a beautiful gift someone can give to society. I'm not saying I'll be a clerk of the arts anytime soon, but street art's definitely made me appreciate it a lot more. I loved Ukraine. You know what else I loved? That bar we went to. I went back there a few times. Jeff so kindly pointed out they had absinthe.
It's 85%.
I think this guy just wanted to light us on fire again. He let the shots on fire and then wanted us to drink it.
Take the orange.
I'm pretty sure it's a good way to just burn yourself. No one should ever try to drink a shot that's on fire.
5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fast.
I've had a lot of absinthe before. In Russia, what you do is you light on fire. It's the strongest there. It's like 97%. You can actually go blind from drinking it. So you put it on fire just to lower the alcohol percentage down a little bit. And then you huff it. and then take the shot. Once you put the fire out, of course. Absinthe is like a really strange green color.
Shit.
Mouth feels like it's on fire right now.
Right now, huh?
Oh. Ugh.
The food is. How cheap the drinks are.
Every Ukrainian I met was very cool, very welcoming, very friendly. Like Dima, who I met at this bar. Now he's just freestyling. The song's been over. The lady in the white shirt over there bought me a shot when I first came in. The guy she's dancing with was not happy about it. I thought I was gonna have some problems. Watch, he says fuck you and flicks off the camera at the end. Fuck you is a great universal phrase. Doesn't matter what language you speak. Easy to say. Later on that night, I figured I'd go introduce myself to the guy that was rapping. I liked it. He had an entire table full of girls and a bottle of vodka. He was like, hey man, come join us. Have a seat, and poured me a drink. He asked me if I like Russian rap. I had no idea he was speaking Russian. I just assumed it was Ukrainian. And to be honest, I was a little taken back. I was surprised. Ukraine is being invaded by Russia. I kind of just thought like it'd be taboo to speak Russian. People would be against it. I asked Dima to help me understand, to kind of explain the dynamics behind it and their relationship with Russia. He told me they like Russian people and they like Russian culture, but they hate Russian government and Russian imperialism. Ukraine voted and chose to break away from Russia. We saw that during Maidan. Dima told me that people of Ukraine, of course, they want a democracy. They want to destroy the corruption in Ukraine. They also want to join NATO, but Russian government won't let them. What I took from that and how I interpreted it is that no, they don't blame the Russian people for the government. I mean, they have no choice. I've seen it firsthand too. I mean, it's crazy. They're afraid to speak out in Russia against the government, like amongst one another and friends. I think a lot of people in Russia and in Ukraine look at it the same way. It's a very sad and unfortunate circumstance. Figuratively speaking, they're like brothers or cousins. They're extremely close, closest allies. I mean, they have a lot of family members that live in each other's countries. I mean, from Kyiv on to the east, they share a language. Ukraine's huge, and I don't want to generalize. I know people from Western Ukraine feel totally different than people from Eastern Ukraine. So just keep that in mind. I did almost get scammed one more time while I was in Ukraine. It was right here, when I was walking to the Motherland Monument. It was right when I pulled up in an Uber. I saw two guys that were kind of walking by each other, talking or something, and then they're about 50 yards ahead of me. Once I got close to them, they kind of separated. One walked past me, and when he did, he dropped his wallet and kept walking. I yelled like, hey, and the other guy that was with him was behind me. He ran up, grabbed the wallet, ran up to him to give his wallet back, and then I saw him point at me, and I saw the one guy looking at his wallet. Must have been like, hey, he took your money. The guy that just got his wallet back started walking towards me. I'm sure he was going to start accusing me of stealing his money. He was a pretty big dude. I'm guessing he probably comes at me aggressively and, intimidates me into giving him money. As soon as he started beelining at me, I immediately put up my hands. I said, fuck you, no way. Let him know I was going to hit him. He just mean bugged me as I walked away. I never stopped. I didn't break stride. But I was thinking, man, I'm glad he didn't want to fight me. Pretty big guy. He probably would have kicked my ass. I've heard of that scam like 10 years ago. I've never seen it, though. This is a Motherland Monument. You can actually go inside and climb up to the top of it. You need a permit, and you need to schedule it in advance. There's also a museum in there. A local I met was telling me how there are tanks all over the city, and they're placed in strategic positions so people can hop in case of invasion. I don't know how true that is. I don't know why he'd lied to me, but this would definitely be a strategic place to put them. This is the high ground. And there are a ton of tanks and other weapons here too. A few days after I left, they declared martial law in Ukraine. They were concerned with a full-on invasion from Russia. It was the first time they declared that in history. What up, fellas? Slava Ukraini. Chernobyl is about an hour and a half north of Kiev. It's right on the border of Belarus. It's my last day in Ukraine. Buckle up, baby. That's where we're going. You can't just roll up to Chernobyl. If you want to go, you have to schedule a tour and go with a guide. I scheduled my tour right at the buzzer, on my last day. I started having second thoughts and didn't really want to go anymore. Multiple reasons. At first I wanted to go just because it sounds nuts, you know, like there are mutants there. Then I come here, I meet all these Ukrainian people, fall in love with them. I mean, they're great people. And what, then go to Chernobyl and stare at something that fucked up a lot of their lives? I wasn't gonna go. Then I snapped out of it and was like, man, I'm being way too sensitive. It's very interesting. It's an important part of history. It's a part of their history. There are mutants, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Book it. Let's fucking go. This is one of the checkpoints right now. I'm not supposed to be filming. It's basically just a bunch of military behind us. They had like a gift store. Bought a hat. I don't have any hair. Figured even if it is radioactive, I mean, no harm. There's multiple checkpoints. They'd want me recording at any of them. I think they're mostly checking just to make sure you don't bring anything in or out that you shouldn't be. On this tour, we're a group of 5. 2 other Americans, 1 from England, and another from Sweden. That's the Welcome to Chernobyl Town sign. That's what my tour guide kept calling it, Chernobyl Town. Chernobyl is the biggest and worst man-made disaster of all time, and it's not going to be safe for people to live in for another 20,000 years. We're in Chernobyl right now, and the tour guide just told us that there's over 5,000 people living in these dormitories right there. They need a lot of people to work in Chernobyl, so they managed to convince everyone that it's okay to live in there 19 days out of the month. So it's not going to be safe to live in for another 20,000 years, but 19 days out of the month is just fine? Bullshit. You just need a bunch of people to work there. Chernobyl is just one more thing on a list of all the horrible things the government has done to the people. It's impossible to come here and not have empathy for the people of Ukraine. You know who sent out the first alert of the disaster? Not the Soviet Union, it was Sweden. All the Soviet Union did was try to cover it up, and at the expense of the Ukrainian people. And at the expense of all of Europe. There was nuclear rain that fell as far away as Ireland. Shit hit the fan April 26, 1986. The more the tour guide kept talking, the more I kept thinking, like, what the hell am I doing here? This is the most stupid thing I've ever done. You know, the tour guide was giving us some cold, hard facts, and at first I was like, I'm not getting out of the fucking van, you know? I'm scared. None of us should be here right now. Don't worry, my panic attack only lasted like 2 stops. That's all I missed. After that, I was ready to roll around in this shit. But yeah, those first 2 stops weren't my best moments. There's actually a hotel in Chernobyl. It's that yellow building. It's called Hotel 10. It's a 3-star hotel. Not bad, huh? And it also has a few hostels for the workers. Those are them right there. The rule in Chernobyl is don't get off the road. All the roads were replaced after, and so they're new, not supposed to be radioactive. So they say just stay on the roads. This is the town hall and some administration buildings. I think it's still in use today. Someone's mowing that lawn. I'm not sure if it's the radiation that's messing with my microphone, but it sure sounds like it.
This is a kindergarten?
I turned the volume way down because there's a lot of popping from the microphone.
Yeah, please.
Hotspot. Okay, so right now Geiger count is showing us 0.22, and we're staying 2 meters. Yeah, 2 meters away from this tree. Yeah,
Okay.
0.20. Here, come here. One 1.5, 1.6.
Oh man.
7.
Jesus. Oh my God. Wow. I don't really want to walk there now.
I don't even know what it went up to. Once I heard that beeping sound, I was out of there. I'm finally not afraid to get out of the van, and somebody puts a creepy, scary baby right there. Come on.
Oh, not?
They just told me we're not allowed to go in. Hey, man. We didn't get all dressed up for nothing. I'm going in. That was my Scottish accent. I won't do that again. Once I get in there, I hate to say it, but I started questioning it. Like, this happened over 30 years ago. How is all of this shit still in here and in this condition? Like, do you know how hard the winters are? I'm not sure what that is, but I'm not going in there. All the windows are broken. Everything in here would be destroyed from the winters. But I can still, like, see the names on papers perfectly. I'm a little skeptical that some of this was added for dramatic effect. Tourism's big money. Alright, let's get out of this room before I start crying. It's a pretty big kindergarten. Mine was one room. I didn't have this many toys in a bed either. It's crazy and sad to think that 30 years ago, that was some child's pillow. And little tricycle. 3 things caused the disaster in Chernobyl. First, the Soviet-designed reactor was faulty and unstable. It was actually banned from use anywhere else besides the Soviet Union. Second, was the plant was operated by untrained employees. Third, and the biggest factor, was neglect by scientific management and the designers. They completely ignored the conditions. This monument was funded and put together by firefighters in the community. Firefighters were the first responders. No one spoke about the radiation risk or the terrifying fate. They all knew it and were willing to sacrifice themselves. The Simpsons. Pretty sure that's the view you see in the beginning of The Simpsons. That's where everyone works. We're about 1 kilometer away from the disaster. They told me not to film it or anywhere near it. I don't know if they just don't want people to know that's where people work or what, but nobody knows the actual death toll. It's been such a cover-up. But the Chernobyl Union of Ukraine, it's a non-government body, estimates the present death toll from the disaster to be almost 734,000. The plant was never shut down. I mean, engineers shut down the last functioning reactor in the year 2000. I mean, right now, fuel is still being removed from the plant. The river was used as a coolant for the reactors. You know on The Simpsons they show like a crazy looking three-eyed fish? That fish is real and it lives right there. Some of the catfish are actually 8 feet. Those catfish are mutants. I mean, that's what radiation does. Radiation will actually change your DNA. The catfish feed from the bottom and they get the radiation that's stuck in the mud, where a lot of it is. There's actually a lot of mutants in Chernobyl. I mean, most of them only live like a year or two. But yeah, there's deer with like 6 legs and stuff.
How far away are we from? One that had the accident?
1 kilometer.
Or 1 kilometer?
You're not allowed within 19 miles of the disaster. We're just hanging out. She said we're 1 kilometer away, less than a mile. And that's where we had lunch.
Chernobyl lunch.
I ate the entire thing. I didn't want to. I mean, the itinerary said we're going to eat in a city near Chernobyl.
What is
not
it?
in Chernobyl. I was starving. I drank so much absinthe last night. I mean, it's the only thing that was in my belly. I actually asked for seconds, and they said no.
And all you need is 1,400? 400?
It's 15 microliters per hour.
It's not here.
I think it actually went up to like 30. I knew I shouldn't have got out of the van here. This is the name of the famous abandoned city of Chernobyl. Pripyat. It's a big abandoned area. About 350,000 people were evacuated. Guide points out like where the furniture store was, the mall, the grocery store. When they evacuated everyone, they did it quickly and suddenly. They told everyone to leave their pets and they'd be able to come back in a few days and get them. And they weren't allowed to. There's around 300 dogs roaming around Chernobyl, and they're believed to be descendants of the leftover pets. We're eating lunch right here. You can see them. It's illegal to try and rescue any of the dogs. They're radioactive. People are crazy and people love dogs. I bet people don't care that they're radioactive and ask to adopt them all the time. The dogs have some radioactive roommates in Chernobyl. Wolves, fox, and bear are all common. They actually introduced wild horses in Chernobyl town. You can see them running around too. Przewalski horse, it's endangered. Being a tour guide for a bunch of dudes in Chernobyl, I mean, that cannot be an easy job, but I don't think we could have had a better tour guide than we had. She was awesome. She was very smart, and you could tell that just by the way she articulated her thoughts. I mean, she was doing that in probably her 4th language. While everyone would go run around the abandoned buildings, I'd usually stay back with her and just talk. I told her I was filming this docuseries, and she said, all right, well, what do you think of the people? I gave her some long-winded answer about how much I love the people, which I do, and I think I ended with, and they're happy. And she told me, no, they're not. They're poor. I was actually disappointed in myself, that I was naive and didn't see that, and it went over my head. When she mentioned it, I thought, of course. Everyone I've met, yeah, they were happy, but they're happy to meet me. Happy I came to Ukraine. Happy with our interaction. Along with Moldova, the poorest country in Europe. It's frustrating when there's no opportunities and you're poor. There's a war going on. Of course they're not happy. The government's been so corrupt and at the mercy of Russia. Life has been hard in Ukraine. When you're traveling, it's like a euphoric holiday. It's vacation, Sometimes you have to bring yourself back down to reality. Oh, gross. It smelled gross in there. Everyone just yelled at me because we're not supposed to make any noises. We're not supposed to be in there.
Be careful, okay, guys? And when you're done, come back, right? Don't be too long. 15 minutes up, 15 minutes down.
15
15 minutes.
"15 minutes up and 15 minutes down? Well, the rest of the building just looks like this. It's abandoned. I don't need to show it. I actually skipped it and walked right back downstairs. I don't want to walk 15 minutes of stairs when the building is nice and clean. I mean, this one has radiation in it. It smells like shit. I'm not sure why someone wants something that's radioactive, but the guide was telling us that they've had a pretty big issue with people coming in and looting from the buildings, taking stuff as memorabilia or even just household items like a couch or a bed. We're pretty much in the center of the city right now. This building houses a community pool and local gymnasium. It was open and operating years after the disaster. There was a big hole in the stairs.
I don't know how safe this is. Diving board.
I have a flight out of Ukraine tonight. I hope I don't fall through these stairs and miss my flight. These are pictures of what it used to look like 30 years ago.
Nice.
Looks a little different now. We have plenty of abandoned high schools back in Detroit. I'm going to pass on going inside this one. I still can't believe I ate that Chernobyl chicken. I don't even know what that other stuff was that came with it. We ended up running into some crazy old guy that's out here in Chernobyl raising a bunch of chickens. I mean, that's for sure what we had for lunch. I'm joking. There is no one out here. I doubt they raise those chickens here. And if they did, I don't want to know. This is the old amusement park. It never actually got to open up.
Oh, this is where the bumper cars are?
If you add up all the radiation that was released from the 2 nuclear bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki,
This is like an iconic
times that by 100,
Chernobyl.
and that's how much radiation was released in Chernobyl. I'm pretty sure that's a sweet sound of radiation messing with my microphone again. It's a wild feeling. You know, we're at like the city center right now, this huge city, and it's just silence. A lot of people ask me if it's scary going to Chernobyl. I'm the wrong guy to ask. I mean, I'm scared of spiders, I'm afraid of the dark. I think the only scary part is, how dangerous is it to be here? And I have no idea. Just like everyone that was here during the disaster. They were told that nothing was wrong and they weren't aware of the risks. Government took books on radiation out of libraries. They thought less information and knowledge equals less panic. I put those portraits up on eBay. It's almost like a blast from the past. There's all these different little grave sites where there's just a bunch of shit. A bunch of random shit. And there's nothing they can do with it because it's radioactive. It just stays there. We have one last stop. Then we can make like a tree and get out of here. I never knew this existed or ever heard of it. We're in a secret military base just right outside of Chernobyl. We're still in the exclusion zone. It has people guarding it too from the military still.
So I'm assuming like there's a transmitter and that's a receiver, right? So it would just...
It's a military satellite disguised as a telecommunications site. The tour guide said it would give the Soviet Union a 10-minute heads up in case the United States shot a nuclear weapon at them, so they'd be able to counter. I felt like a bad guy when she said that. Cold War's over, come on.
Like Mach 2 or 3, but the official, like, the maximum speed was never like
Isn't like a, what do they call it, the afterburner?
Yeah.
Like a nitro boost.
Everyone's talking about Area 51 right now.
It's like,
This was basically like the Area 51 for the entire Soviet Union.
60,000 feet. Yeah. They don't sin with it. They don't sin like the advanced avionics and stuff like that. That's a lot of, yeah, that's a big part of it. We had
But this is another table. It was like a pipe around.
Oh yeah? The second checkpoint. This time was the checkpoint.
What?
Checkpoint used to be here. And remember I told you that officially it was called like telecommunication center. Radio center, telecommunication center.
Can we climb it?
This entire hallway in this little building was just filled with computers. Thing's huge. I wonder if it actually worked.
But like when you have walked now in Minnesota.
This is what it looks like when you leave Chernobyl. You have to go through one of these weird looking machines, and I guess it tests to see if you have any radiation with you. And if you do, you have to stay. They told me like 3 times, do not record this. You don't want me to record it because I'm sure it doesn't work. Look how old it is. I'm not sure if the satellite worked, but I know this thing didn't work. There's no way that machine tells you anything useful. I'm a big fan of Ukraine. So are the people from Ukraine. There's a lot of pride there. That might sound like an obvious thing to say, but it's not something I see everywhere I go. I think they have a great sense of community. Ukraine recently elected a new president. I hope he's able to stay away from the corruption, fulfill his promises on ending the war, and I think you'll start to see some of that ambitious, younger generation that left Ukraine start to come back. Alright, after every trip, I'm going to rate my experience. 9.3. Not that bad. I put it in my top 5 favorite countries. Some things I loved about Ukraine. Loved how cheap it was. Love the people. They're very gracious. Some things I didn't like about Ukraine was the pizza. They haven't figured this out yet. Here are some things that I'm still curious about after leaving Ukraine. The new president of Ukraine is Volodymyr Zelensky. If you're the president of Ukraine, you don't do exactly what Russia wants, they're either going to try to kill you or throw you in prison. I hope he has ice in his veins and is fearless. There's no doubt that Russia's going to try to control Ukraine. We'll see pretty soon if he gives in and lets them. The other thing I'm so curious about is what happened with the Bidens. If you look at it the most logical way, Biden might be weird and creepy, but I don't think he's stupid. He's smart enough to become the vice president of America. If he's smart enough to do that, he's smart enough not to do something stupid like this. That doesn't mean his son's smart, though, and his son isn't. He is stupid. He obviously had wrongdoing. He doesn't have any control or any responsibility for his son. His son's a 50-year-old man. I'm curious to see if he had any role in Yulia Tymoshenko going to prison. She was wrongfully imprisoned and was released on the last night of Euromaidan. Coming up on this season of Getting Worldly. Corruption here is just wild. A cop just stopped me. I'm lost.
We're going to Palestine. Woo-hoo.
I have no idea where I'm going. It hurts so bad. Does not feel safe. I feel really self-conscious. Accidentally drove into a war zone.
Here we go. Chin. Cheers.
Yeah, you bet, man. Got robbed at gunpoint. We just died.